Tamara, we're starting it now, okay? By the way, you look awesome. You look
Thank
really
you. Yeah,
good,
that's
really
important.
good.
I worked on this
That's
for you.
important. So, you got a great shirt, you got a great smile as usual, you got great hair, you got great background, so everything is super good. I'm gonna take this out. But anyway, thanks so much, really, that you you really came to my first interview. Um, and you'll be remembered for this. So, um, so I my main audience here is right now the people I've seen are the people who are in early part of their career. So I have experienced folks as well, but a lot of time I hear concerns from the people who are in early part of their career don't know what to do. Maybe they are in high school, maybe
Mm,
they are in college, and maybe they are in the first couple of years. So I always thought that okay, those people. Um, like I look back at myself, how I moved in my career. Okay, I always whatever came, I just jumped on it, right? So there wasn't anybody there that I could talk to, get some
mm.
consultation. So you have some managers there, you have your own manager, then you have your technical lead, and not always you kind of that open to those people, and you want somebody else to kind of guide you there. So I thought it would be good such sessions, you know people come, they talk about their life, how they moved up in their career, and what kind of advice they have for somebody like who's new, especially under this situation. So that's the whole idea here. But I really want to hear about you. So why not just you start telling about whatever comes to you? You start
Okay.
telling us about that. I'm gonna then ask you a few questions
Okay.
here and there to learn more. So
All right. So my name's Tamara Wesley. Hi, everybody. I am from Gary, Indiana. Most people associate that with the Jackson. Michael Jackson was born in Indiana. Um, and so this is a small steel mill town that over the recent years the steel mills have closed. So there's a fair amount of poverty, gang violence, kind of thing. When I was growing up, it wasn't the way it is now. So I attended a performing arts school where you had to
Mm.
audition and have a artistic talent, even art, dance, uh, singing, an instrument, and mine was drama. And so once I tell people that
Wow.
study drama, they say, okay, now I get it, why you're comfortable in speaking in front of many people and build rapport really quickly. Because I use that drama background every single day, and just quickly getting people to trust me, creating a vision, being a very good storyteller, inspiring people to get committed to our goals. And so who knew that back there being on stage way back in the sixth and seventh grade would result in and I used it here at Intel. Back then I loved
Wow.
math and science, but I did want to be an actress. I had Hollywood in my sight.
That's
Um,
interesting. I never thought about that. Okay, good, good. That's good.
yep. And I had one of my teachers talk about being a starving artist, and I was like, whoa, 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 starving? Okay, so we're not gonna do the starving. I'm gonna go and focus on my math and science. And
Ah.
that's where and then they had these programs on weekends. They would take us to engineering companies and let us see demos and what they do and ask questions. And that's when I always loved math and science, but that's when I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an engineer.
Mm.
And also in my family and my extended family, we had one of my cousins was the first engineer, and then after that, all of us is about I don't know 7 or 8 of us, electrical, industrial, chemical, engineering. And so when I was in school in the '90s, that was the hot thing for our family is which kind of engineer you gonna be. So we had a nice little family network of engineers. So, but then I'll tell you a story. I had my sights set on going to MIT.
Mm.
Story.
Really? Okay.
Okay, so in Indiana, they did interviews, and so you would go to a alumni's house, and so we were late. My mom's terrible with directions. Here we are. And I'm like 45 minutes late, and this guy is like not very happy. And so he gives me about 15 minutes to talk. And I asked
So
him,
this was when you were applying for
yeah, for
MIT.
college. Yep, when
For college, okay.
I
Yeah.
was a junior, I think I was a senior in high school.
Ah, okay.
And he said, I said, what are my chances of getting in? And he's like, oh, they're really good. We're lenient on women and minorities.
Mm.
And I decided right then I'm not applying to MIT.
Mm.
Did not want that to be the reason.
Right.
I wanted it to be fair. So I set my targets on Georgia Tech. I was like, well, that's where I'm going. Their application was short. They didn't ask a lot about clubs and leadership and, and I was like, no, they're going to pick me on my merits, my intelligence, my business knowledge. And so
Wow.
that's Georgia Tech, which was the perfect choice for me.
Mm.
So that's a little bit of background and why, I'm passionate about equity and diversity. That was born in that conversation many, many years ago when I was 18 years old. So.
Oh, that's a cool story, really. Now, going back to your sixth, seventh grade, you wanted to be an actress,
Yeah.
drama, and now I see, in your personality why I see those things. So then you jump to okay. I want to do math and science because
Yeah.
I don't want to, artist star, right? Artists don't find enough money, so so that was your main thing, right? That's a main thing for a lot of us who came in because we want to get a good job ultimately. So was it the family kind of environment driving that? A lot of things we kind of get from the environment. Oh yeah, you go there, engineer, and you do it. I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't have any artists or you didn't have any actress at that time that you could know and ask, right?
That's right. And from growing up in a small town like Gary, and I was raised by a single mom. My dad was in the city, but I lived at home with my mom and my siblings. I got to see financial instability, and that
Mm-hmm.
very, very impactful to me. And I decided I've got to get out. I've got to get out of this environment. How do I do that? And it was my brains. And I decided then to protect my brain, to protect. So no partying, drinking, smoking, none of that stuff. Because it was your biggest way out is your intelligence. And so between that and learning that engineers do well financially, because I have a cousin, the first cousin, he's got a really big house. He lives in Colorado, went to visit, like what do you do? All right. And so it was an environment that kind of triggered and having humble beginning definitely gives you some grit and some perseverance in your character. But man, I don't want that. I don't want so very, very strategic decisions on my part very early that this is not the life I necessarily want. I wanna be able to have some stability. And the decisions I make now for my children and my household are a lot based on stability. I don't take a ton of risks. Now maybe once they go off to college, I probably will, but as long as I'm raising them, I kind of do what's best for the family.
Yeah, so that thing has stuck there, right?
Yeah.
And does I had a similar background, but so now we see Tamara going into high school, right, with a focus on science and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, so you were already high school. I see Tamara kind of wanting to be engineer, and she's looking for the right college, and then she wants MIT. But because of that reason you mentioned, right? And what was great thing. So you say, okay, Georgia Tech is simple application. They don't look for all those things. Um, so there you are in Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, initially you had a chemical engineering or those type of engineering as background. How did you end up like in the field of electronics or computer science? What was it?
It was electrical engineering. So one of those programs where they would take us, some of us, high achieving students to these engineering companies. I started asking the difference between them because we got to see chemical, electrical, mechanical. I'll be honest, mechanical seemed the funnest. because
Mm-hmm.
you got to touch stuff and build things.
Mm-hmm.
But someone told me that electrical engineering was 90% math. And because I love math, can do math in my sleep, passionate about math, that's the path I took. Um,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Okay. So there you are taking electrical engineering courses in Georgia Tech. How was that time?
I was not prepared. So this school I went to, this performing arts school, it was called Emerson School for the Visual and Performing Arts. You would have a drama class. You'd have 7 classes in a day. You'd have a drama class. You'd have your math. You'd have science, English. You had all that, but you'd have maybe 2 to 3 artistic classes.
Mm.
Um, we were so good at performing. We put on productions, but being prepared for Georgia Tech, I was not. I was not challenged. This is a small kind of urban school where I had never used a computer when I went to Georgia Tech. I
Mm.
never a typing class. That wasn't a class that they had students who were going to go on and do math and science. That just wasn't going to be in my curriculum. So I get to Georgia Tech. We just start having the World Wide Web way back in 1993. So I'm aging
Uh,
myself.
yeah.
And the learning curve, Rashid,
Mm.
it was steep. Um,
Mm.
but believe it or not, here comes drama again, and being
Mm.
able I'm gonna go to office hours. I'm not afraid. I'm gonna ask questions. I'm gonna go to the TAs. I'm gonna build networks and study groups. And so I learned probably after freshman year, I studied all by myself, and I was like, that's not gonna work. I learned about sophomore year, you need a network of people because you can't learn all of this content by yourself. You just
Mm.
um, and so I leveraged networks. And it's funny, I don't do as enough of that at work now, but to me, I feel like me graduating was a group effort. It was not solely a Tamara.
How is it? Is it like a group of friends that you would go for help, get some
Yep.
knowledge from them? How
Yeah,
was it?
we would study together. We do our homework together. And so if someone understood number two, somebody else knew how to do number five, right? And so we're all
Mm.
pollinating that knowledge. And so I just continued to do that I was at Georgia Tech for my bachelor's and my master's. Um, and so I continued that trend through both of those degrees.
Yeah, no, it's that teamwork. A lot of time I say that our schools, they, yeah, encourage us more like us as a solo performer. Like we need to get our grades good. We need to we do our best. It's not a teamwork that we are told. And when we go to the field, it's a teamwork.
Right.
And that's where people miss that element
Mm-hmm.
too. You need to take from somebody, and you need to take on like bigger thing that we do on the projects as a team. One
Mm-hmm.
person cannot do all,
That's
right?
that's right.
um, that's a
Yep.
great example, Tamara. Okay, now you're done with Georgia Tech.
Oof,
Okay,
I
you
got
have
out.
your bachelor degree.
God.
Oh, that was so. Now you are looking for a job, right? Because that's what we're all told. You get a good degree, and
Mhm.
now get a good job, good paying job. All right. So how did that go?
So
Finish. You're applying for it, and I want to see that tomorrow now.
really impactful story.
Oh, cool.
So Georgia Tech had a co-op program. Back then, Georgia Tech was on quarters. So they were 12-week quarters, which also made school very rigorous because you had 4 quarters in a year. But you would
Mm,
work a quarter, go to school a quarter. So I got in the co-op program because again, finances has always been a
mm,
thing for me. And so my parents struggled. I didn't uh, come out of school with lots of scholarship. I graduated third in my class, but that's not valedictorian or salutatorian. That's just your third, right? Um,
mm.
we got into the co-op program to help offset tuition. So I worked for GM, I worked for HP, and then one year I was working
Was
at
was that starting from your uh,
a I started
first?
as a freshman. I worked
Oh.
as a freshman, which is you'll see it in work. I don't have this barrier against having an intern that's a sophomore or a freshman, because I started working as a freshman. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I didn't know a ton, but learning professionalism, a schedule. I did a lot of AutoCAD when I worked for GM, so it wasn't directly electrical engineering, but just
Mm.
learned how to be professional. I learned how to be accountable
Mm.
for my work way back then. So I did that co-op for 2 years, and then I decided I wanted to get out of manufacturing. I worked at a GM plant and
Mm.
job at HP.
So, what was
And
your job there? What kind of co-ops were those?
so again, I Excel spreadsheets. They were
Mm.
actually one of my projects was there's in the trunk of a car they put a spare tire. So there was this guy always lifting the tire, putting it in the trunk. Well, he started having
Mm.
a shoulder problem.
Mm.
Engineering department at this GM plant designed this articulated arm that was like a hydraulic, which was super, super cool. This
Mm.
hydraulic that would just take the weight off of it, and all he had to do is clamp it on the tire, engage the hydraulics, and drop it in.
Mm.
Um, my first project was to kind of take specs and tweak and see how he was doing. And man, it was rough because we stopped the manufacturing line a couple times because the arm wouldn't pick it up, and he would just
Mm.
hit it. He grabbed the tire and just threw it in. And so that was one of my projects. Another
Wow.
one, that was like my first summer. My second, well, first quarter. My second quarter was they were bringing a bunch of engineers from headquarters and relocating them there. So they had this big open space and had to plan an office.
Mm.
How many desks, how to configure them, and kind of these collab areas. And I used AutoCAD. That was fun. And that's not an
Mm.
engineering tool, but that was pretty cool.
Mm.
So because I didn't have any engineering classes as a freshman, but
Uh,
just taking some specs and some measuring and just I don't know how to.
you were getting that real life experience there.
Yeah.
And were those jobs enough to support you financially at that time
It would
for the
definitely
college fees?
offset, and especially if I'm taking a quarter where I'm not charging a tuition bill. I just get to save that money, and then
Mm. Mm.
next quarter. Um, but after a while, I realized manufacturing is not the environment. It wasn't the best environment for a single woman. I'll just say.
Mm.
So I decided, okay, let me try something else, and I got out of the job interning at HP. That was pretty fun. So I got to do some decode and assembly language, working on this logic analyzer. So I wrote had to
Mm.
do kind of a demo guide. So I wrote this guide, some documentation, but I also had some automated demos. So that was really, really awesome.
Mm. Oh,
I
cool.
was like, okay, electrical engineering, this is my thing. Um,
Mm.
but during that summer, when I was at HP, I went to register for classes and I couldn't log in. I was locked out. So I
Mm.
called, and the financial aid department says, "You owe us money, and you are not
Mm.
back to Georgia Tech until you pay us." I did not know that my mom hadn't made my tuition payment. And,
Oh.
and so my extended family pulled money together, got me back into schools, heard my
Oh.
story, like, oh, she owes a couple $1,000s. Let's get her
Wow.
back to school. Because she's doing well. She's making the dean's list. How do we let money get this kid where she can't go back to college? Um,
Mm.
so because my extended family has this, huge value on education, all
Mm.
years my aunts and uncles pulled money and my dad together and just paid this bill.
Wow.
Um, and got me back. But once I got back in school, I was like, this is unsustainable. My family can't afford this. I have got to
Mm.
now. So I got an application to an Intel minority scholarship.
Mm.
You had to have recommendations. Someone from Intel came out to Georgia Tech and interviewed me, and I got that scholarship and
Wow.
paid my full tuition. I had an
Cool.
internship at Intel, and that is how I got was this kind of bad incident, but it motivated me to go seek help. Say,
Yeah.
I'm afraid that we are not going to be able to afford the remaining years in school. So,
Mm.
and then, so I interned with Intel one summer as a junior, and then they say, "Hey, you want to get a master's degree? We got this other minority program. You want to
So
apply?"
you, by that time, you had already your bachelor degree was happening, and you were doing internship with Intel as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And during that time, while you were doing bachelor degree and internship, they say, "Hey, another opportunity for master degree with
Yeah.
some similar type of scholarship," right?
I
Wow.
wasn't even thinking about a master's degree. And I thought, well, I'm not ready to be an adult. So I'm going to stay in school for a couple more years because Intel's going to pay for it. And I'm going to stay. And then I ended up getting my master's degree in 11 months instead of a year and a half because
Wow.
I was aggressive and I had a project and and they were going to go to semesters. And my advisor was like, "Don't you just want to get out of here before we go to semesters? Let's work a plan
Mm,
to get you out of here fast." And so I just did 4 quarters straight through and finished.
that's amazing. Now, many people. I'm from Pakistan because I was in Pakistan and other developed part of the world. They probably think, okay, yeah, someone in US, oh, they all have a great life. They have all, you
Mm-hmm.
know, everything great. They all go to college without any financial problem. I think your story tells people that okay, that's not the case. Okay, here come your life struggle um, financially, just like any other person in Pakistan and India probably be struggling at the same time. And then when you looking for possibilities, okay, how I can do it, instead of, you could have said, okay, you know what, my parents cannot afford this, I'm gone, I'm not doing engineering, I'm gone to there, at least I'm doing day job and getting money. But here you are looking for possibility. No, I want to do this, how can I make that possible? We
Mm-hmm.
always look for tons of excuses not to do something, but looking for ways how we can do that. And they, when you go for something, I think whatever you believe in, God or
Mm-hmm.
nature or something else, it brings something for you,
Yeah,
right? You believe in that, right?
I
I'm sure
do
you
believe
do.
that. I do.
Yeah.
Definitely. And even during that time, that's when you mentioned God, I built my spiritual relationship because that was a really, really tough time I'm doing my job, I'm doing my part, my grades are good, I'm on the dean's list,
Mm,
and circumstances are about to defer my because
mm,
going back home that did cross my mind because I knew
mm,
school's not getting cheaper, and
mm,
family's situation hasn't changed. So
mm.
that that was definitely a testimony for me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
So,
now you have master degree. Sorry, go
yep.
ahead.
And so you asked how I looked for a job, man. I always say Intel's almost like when you're in, you're in. And so as an intern, a repeat intern, then I became a
Mm,
graduate intern. And so I get more responsibility in my internships. Intel's like I had managers that would just they had this it's kind of like a career fair at Intel, and the
mm.
managers come in and rotate and say, talk about their job and see if you want to do it. And I had choices. So my first semester, my master's degree, I'd accepted a job. I never went to a career fair. I didn't interview with any other company because Intel became my dream company.
So
Once I
that
took
you accepted job offer from
it.
Intel.
Yep, and I still had, I don't know, 8 more months of school to go. But I was
Right.
done. I'm going to work at Intel, and I'm just going to finish my degree. So, and then here
Oh.
I am,
So
21
that
years.
was which Intel side was that?
Chandler. I
Oh,
started at
okay.
Chandler.
So you started with Chandler. Okay, so now you are doing what? Which department are you in? What are you doing at Intel?
So right now I'm an SOC design
No, I mean
man.
at that time.
Oh, back
Sorry,
then. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I
Um.
will come to that too.
Oh, what was I doing? I was a technical marketing engineer, and that was kind of cool
Ah.
because back then Blackberries had just come out, and they were these big. I wish I still had mine. It was this big like pager, but you could type on it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And because I would travel and go meet with customers, I was doing kind of software requirements. Um, and we would be texting, on these things, and it would not be business. It'd be like, where are we going for lunch? What are we doing this thing? Um, so work was really, really fun, and there was a ton of people who had all kind of come in at the same time, and so, we that's where I started in
So you were
Arizona.
the marketing. You were the
Yep.
marketing engineer. Marketing. What kind of product?
So again, that was software requirements, doing
Okay.
like
Software.
device drivers. We were
Okay.
doing device
I
drivers.
see. Okay. So how long that went?
So I did that for a year,
Okay.
and then I was kind of like, so I took all these VLSI classes, this architecture. I'm using none of that,
Yeah.
right? This is this is all just Tamara being Tamara and just closing her AR, her action items, right?
Yeah.
So um, we were starting up. Our team was starting up a group in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was like,
Okay.
oh, let me do interviews.
Yeah.
So I would do interviews, and as I'm interviewing people for this new team,
New team in New Mexico, and you are interviewing, but you are sitting in Arizona.
yeah, and
Okay.
I would travel to New Mexico and go
Mm.
and do interviews. And as I'm
Wow.
sitting there, the work they seemed to be doing, I was interested in. So
Mm.
I was doing some networking chips. Sometimes
Oh.
it goes and does
Okay.
these different, gets into these different market segments, right?
Okay. All
Um,
right.
and so I asked the manager, I'm like, can I come work for you? And he's like, yeah. And that was that. But then I moved to
Oh,
Mexico.
really? So you relocated to New Mexico?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So I lived in New Mexico for another year, and then that was when the .com crash happened.
Okay.
So people were jumping ship, and
Mm.
so Intel has this thing called redeployment, where you gotta appear to
Ah.
find a job within the company,
Okay. Right.
and that's when I got the job here in Fort Collins.
Wow. And that was when?
That was 2000. I moved here in 2001. No,
Oh,
yep.
okay. Wow. So you are here at Fort Collins, into Fort Collins since
I
2001.
I did not think we were going to be here this long.
Okay. And within Fort Collins, you are what? So you like your job at New Mexico? You really like that role? Was it like the way you expected?
It was because I knew, so you know how well, so we have this requirements, software requirements, and I learned that
Mm.
that was a skill set I learned in Arizona, and so I became the lead of our software requirements. And
Mm.
right after my a few months there, they identified you should be a manager, but because
Mm.
I'm out of school 1 year,
Mm.
they weren't ready to make that happen. They're like, you just need more experience, but we can see
Oh,
management potential for you.
okay.
Way back then. But then when I come to Fort Collins, I switch gears. I'm doing VLSI design. And so I'm like an RCG,
Mm.
changing careers. I'm doing something.
Okay.
And so that's where I had to build my
So
expertise.
finally, you were doing a VLSI work.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and that was what? That was more like a digital backend or analog backend. What was it?
So we were doing, I don't remember the name of the project. I probably can't speak on it anyway, but
Yeah.
we were doing our own. It was a data path kind of work, so it wasn't
Ah,
ICC. We had master
some
designers,
custom tools.
and you
Okay.
would put it down, and you would write your
Ah.
kind of automation to build your data path and make it repeatable.
Mm.
And so I did that kind of work, which was fun.
Mm.
It was fun work.
And what was the transition time to management? When
So
did
I
you
worked
decide,
at
okay, now enough with the technical work. I want
yeah.
to be a manager.
So I had been a component design engineer for I'll say about 9 years. I've worked on a number of projects, and then I did
Okay.
this Strength Finders test. I don't know if you're familiar with Strength Finders. It's this online quiz you take. You have to answer
Ah.
really, really fast, but that's going to be your real answer. And at the end
Okay.
of my 5 strengths came out.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, Rashid, I was pretty disappointed by my 5 strengths. It didn't say anything
Okay.
about being smart, say anything about developing something new. It was
Okay.
it was all communicator,
Ah.
able to inspiration, be able to give people a story and inspire others, and winning others over. And I remember that one. Woo, that just means I'm nice.
Mm.
What kind of strengths are these? Um,
Mm.
Black manager that identified this says you should be a manager.
Mm. Wow.
So she started preparing me. So every Friday,
Who is she?
my
He's
man,
like, oh, your manager. Okay, you talk to your manager. Okay, with those kind of things, management is a good line for you.
yep,
Okay.
that's what she identified. And
So how
so
you came across the strength finder? Like, there's somebody say, "Hey, go look for it," and or
I,
how you take it serious? Like, okay, oh, I did it. It doesn't match what I think I am. I'm not gonna take it serious. So,
so for some reason there was an employee development kind of focus going on at Intel, and they
mm,
had bought these Strength Finders books. Now it's all online. But they bought
okay,
every copies of this book. If you wanted to do it, you could do it. You didn't have to.
I never knew this. Yeah, yeah,
We have Rashid. I think we
yeah.
had some copies of the book at our site.
Okay, okay,
You can go Google it and you can take the test.
okay. Yeah.
And so that's how I really. And then if I connect that to way back when I first started working, they were like, "You should be a manager." Um,
Mm,
if I put all that together, that's where it was.
mm. Okay. Oh, that's great. Awesome story. I think I can keep going, keep talking about this with you on your story for hours. That's lovely. That's really great to know all the background. I mean, we have been working for a few years, but I never knew all this. It's really great to hear all that. So you've been hiring people for
Mm,
Intel as well, right? You go to different places, colleges, and interview people, talk to people. Um, you know what are the things in your experience you look for,
mhm.
and something that you see and say, oh, that's the girl or that's the boy I want to get in.
Yeah.
What are some of those?
So I originally got into hiring because I was looking for a future me. I
mm,
was complaining about the diversity of our site or the lack thereof, and instead of
okay,
whining about it, I decided I'm gonna go do something about it.
do something. Okay, that's great.
Take over the internship program for Fort Collins, and then go do some hiring. And so the things that I've kind of tweaked, I've gotten feedback from managers on what kind of resumes they just like. They like to
mm,
see computer architecture and digital logic, and all schools don't have VLSI design. This was way back when, but looking for things
mm,
like that, previous
mm,
experience, and maybe now people get to do a lot of research projects. That's the way
mm,
to augment if you haven't worked yet.
mm,
Um, so first, the resume is. I'll be honest. A resume format is hugely important
mm,
because many times when managers go off to career fairs, we see hundreds of students a day. That resume is really going to get 30 seconds
yeah.
from someone. And in 30 seconds, I need to see your name, your major, your GPA when you're graduating, and scan some stuff really fast. And so if it's hard for me to find I'm really honest, it is not going to be a winning way.
mm,
And even if I talk to you, I'm going to talk to hundreds of students. I'm not going to remember that one that
yeah,
but then I start putting notes on it, right? Like, this
yeah.
special pal, and then because you have to centralize the resume so everyone can see them later. Um, so the resume is important because in a short order, I've got to be able to see if I want to talk further. If I want
Yeah,
to,
that's a great tip. That's a great tip. Yeah, 30 second. You need to
yeah,
make impression. Yeah.
you really, really do.
Mm.
So these long resumes with all the words and sentences, I would advise against that. If you're a
Maybe they
student,
make a first page, a summary or something, I mean,
Yeah.
what's the best kind of resume you have seen? Oh wow.
No one page summary. Really, because what happens is, again, I'm not reading that summary. I don't
Yeah.
have time to read that. I have time to scan. If you've got blocks of data, your GPA and your major, your courses that you've taken, because that's hugely important. What you've been exposed to, and then your
Mm,
projects or work experience.
mm, mm.
So, to me, those are the three things in that order that are really, really important. Um,
Right.
Different people give different advice on which ones is the most important. That's just my preference. You have
Mm,
to worry about your grades, when you're graduating, classes you've taken, are they relevant, and if you've got some more.
mm.
And
Okay.
then, yep. And then icing on the cake is clubs, leadership, stuff that can be at the bottom. Now, if I
Mm.
get a chance to talk to you, so if you get past the resume part,
But on resume, a lot of people tend to put their projects, because they're passionate. They spend a lot of work. That's the other thing I've seen people giving us all of this. All I worked on. So, do you want to see that laundry list of everything? What do you see from the project's point of view?
the projects you do want to see, but it's gotta be, um, gotta use action words. Um,
Mm.
Developed. If you tell me you worked on, if I got a chance to talk
Yeah.
to you, I'll ask you more probing questions. The thing about your resume is it has to stand on its own. So when you write it, it's gotta be a representation of what you want us to know, because your resume gets passed around all over Intel. It gets uploaded, scanned, copied, and so you might have talked to me, but you may get hired by someone who sell your resume 2 months later.
Mm.
And I prefer bulleted responsibilities. I'm scanning it and I'm looking for technical action words.
What you did as opposed to I was working on this.
Yes. What did
Yeah.
you, if I developed a Perl script that blocked, good.
Mm.
Used OVM to validate memory controllers. That
Mm.
very important, because if I got a gap or a spot in the memory controller team,
Mm.
that resume is jumping out at me because
Mm.
that language on it.
Mm. Okay, so resume is important.
Yep.
You were about to say something else. You passed the resume and now.
Okay, so now I love your resume. Now I
Yeah.
want to talk to you, right? So what am I looking for? I'm look. So you've already demonstrated by your grades that you're smart. So that means you can learn
Mm.
anything.
Mm.
But what about the things I can't teach you, which is, um, you're a self-starter, you ask questions, you're organized, you're inquisitive. If you get a chance to talk to me,
Mm.
that's what I'm looking for. Is this person super quiet? Will I always have to pull teeth with them? Are there answers?
Mm.
Answers? There is a finesse to an interview to be able to give people a picture of how you would fit into their team.
Mm.
If you worked with them.
All
Um,
right.
some of the things we kind of struggle with as far as people being a good fit is their ability to be able to take a nebulous task, turn it into different pieces to get them. And
Mm. It's the
that part,
behavioral part you're interested in. You're great, sure you can do it. You're a hard worker and all that, but can you get into the team and
that's
you
right.
know,
Be a team
yeah.
player, are you gonna, so that you're right, the behavioral part is important for me, because I'm
Mm.
thinking, can I manage this person? How would this person fit in what I believe is a really great organic team?
Mm.
Not all
Okay.
a 4.0 and you took the right classes. Because
Mm. So do people have to talk a lot with you in the interviews? How people need to impress you? Or they wait for
so
you to ask the questions and only answer to the point? What is it?
it is how thoroughly they're able to answer my questions.
Okay.
Um, and one tip I'll give folks is, when someone asks me a question, because I am a storyteller, I can ramble. I can go off into the weeds and tell you about flowers and trees. And so I will write notes on the question to make sure I hit the points.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take a beat and be quiet and think. It
Mm.
you don't have to fill the air with time with your voice, and just think about it and ask qualifying questions. Um, have questions for me.
Mm.
I'm at the end, and I don't ding anyone if they don't ask questions, but if sometimes I've gotten some really great questions that may turn an interview around for me about.
Mm.
And sometimes if I'm not getting enough, if I'm not getting a real sense, I ask a question. Tell me something about you that I can't get from your resume, because you
Mm.
intel person right in front of you who can champion your resume. Uh,
Mm.
me, what do you want me to know? And
Yeah, that's a great one.
that's one I would say, go work on that answer before you interview.
Yeah.
Something special about you, different about you, uh, that could be a real asset, that just beyond just your abilities. So
Yeah, no, that's good. So, okay, last couple of questions.
yeah,
It's been so good, Tamara. Really lovely. Um,
yes, it has.
so now this situation right now. Okay, we have COVID-19. We are working remotely.
Mhm.
Um, I really don't know what opportunities people have or don't have, especially people looking for a job. Um, how the situation here or around the world. But how do you see right now, given the last 6, 7, 8 months that since been in lockdown or
Mhm.
COVID related thing, how is it impacting hiring right now? How is it changing the in your opinion? I
Mhm.
mean, somebody sitting there right now looking for a job, like they say, okay, there's nothing. How can I work? What do you see? What has changed?
Yeah, I do think, and I think some of our external hiring has, I would have to say, may have slowed down. I'll give an example with the internship program.
Mm,
We There was a point we had to make a decision. Business groups had to weigh in. Or would you support an intern remotely?
mm,
Some jobs you just can't. If you work in the fab, that's a job you can't work remotely.
mm,
Um, and some of the business groups and Intel as a whole thought it is very important that we honor the offers we made and we figure out how to make this work remotely. And
mm,
sending out laptops, having your first day office, it requires an extra touch amount of communication between the intern and the mentor and the manager. So it's a huge investment.
mm,
So, but as the intern manager that says interns don't take their laptops home, I now don't have that requirement anymore. It's changed
mm,
my view.
mm,
You need to be here. We need to see you every day, so that we know you get your job done. That
mm,
part went away because any of us can't be together at all.
mm,
I think it require it allows us to have way more flexibility, and which is
mm,
right. It's changing the way even our practices that people need to relocate for family reasons, or um,
mm,
that we always kind of had, but not to this scale. To have this kind of flexibility and understanding from management.
mm,
Um, so in external hiring, we're doing that, but
mm,
we got to change how we're going to interview you. You know,
mm,
used to bring you out for a day long of like rigorous interviews. I think
mm,
changing our practices now because we can't afford to put you through a day. I don't know. Maybe some people are putting someone on a Zoom call for 8 hours straight for an interview, but I think it may require us to change. This
mm.
can't. You, that just doesn't seem as
So are
appropriate.
there still Intel or other companies? You're into this. You're probably seeing what other companies are doing. Are there still positions advertised? Still hiring happening?
Yeah.
Or you think because COVID now employers are careful. They're not doing it. They're waiting for it to finish.
I am seeing hiring. I'm seeing, attrition happening where people
Mm,
are leaving our company going somewhere else and we're still
mm,
in. I think what it's done is it doesn't mean you have to relocate, right?
mm,
giving people a little bit some more options.
Mm.
For example, I hired someone last fall who showed up this summer. That person has only met me, hasn't met anyone else on their team, but they're working from California, and we are making
Mm.
it work, you know. And
Mm.
so, for me, the positive is the additional flexibility. So I can sit
Right.
and work for a company on the East Coast, right?
Mm.
Get the best of what works for my family. So there's
Right.
hiring still going on, and people are taking jobs, and people are getting way more opportunities. I think because
Mm.
I'm not restricted to
Right.
certain location. Right? I can go
Right.
off and find my dream job that might be on the other side of the country.
Mm. Okay.
Now, what'll happen when things open back up? There may be discussions of moving, or maybe if it's working, maybe that flexibility.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Cool. All right. I'm sure the people will have tons of questions, and maybe we can find a way of I can communicate those questions to you later on when I make this post live. But anything that I didn't ask and you said, okay, this was something I would say or mention. Any final thoughts that you want to say?
There's been a lot of movement around people bringing their authentic self to work, um,
Mm.
and bringing your full set of passions and your talents.
Mm.
I would say find anyone who's looking for a job or got a new job, find a way to bring all of you or a good portion of you to your problem solving. Because like with my story, who knew that my theater background would really be the differentiator in how I built team, develop other leaders around me, that would be a huge component of it. And so being able to connect with people and inspire people, that can be the difference in someone exceeding their expectations or just doing the job they're told to do at any
Mm.
level. So that would be one thing I would leave is to solve our tough problems in a new, innovative way. We need creativity. And
Mm.
creativity come in the form of making woodwork or singing or pulling people together and doing an event outside of work um, that builds camaraderie and trust. Those things
Mm.
have efficiency impact that impacts real business results. That,
Mm.
that would be my
Okay.
one parting thing. Many, but that's one I could think of.
Mm. So is that the artist in Tamara? Is that gone? Is that you lost that person, or you
Oh
still
no!
have it somewhere? Kind of comes and triggers you. Hey Tamara, I'm here. That I'm the actress. You need to do something for me.
I think about it. It's funny because I see a lot of it in my daughter. My daughter is the actor. I want to
Okay.
support. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think if I think about what my calling may be, once I transition away from Intel, it would be leadership coaching. I
Mm.
just got this epiphany last week, which is listening to people, connecting with them, helping them connect their passions with what the business would need, and developing that. And that is where like I said, the storyteller, even me putting myself in their shoes, being empathetic, and me picking up, if I were listening to them and picking up their character, what would I want to do? How would I maybe develop myself if I were them? That's a piece of that acting that comes into play. Um,
Mm.
she's still there. Someday TED Talks might be in my future. I don't see myself writing any books, but definitely getting in front of an audience and motivating others. I always say, man, I should have been Oprah. Uh,
Mm.
I should have had.
Mm.
But Intel has been my career here has been so fascinating that I'm able to bring that in, and it is valued. It is
Mm.
valued.
Okay, that's good. Mm.
So, and it does make an impactful difference. And
Mm.
so she's still around.
Okay.
Maybe you'll make me famous, and then I'll get
Oh no, I think that Tamara will come out. in some different way. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe tomorrow need to reinvent yourself. Okay, it was lovely talking to you, Tamara. And I
You too.
so appreciate that you came to this interview, and I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure others will learn a lot from your story.
Thank you for thinking of me, Rashid. This was super fun. Any other ways I can help, let me know.
I will. Thanks so
Okay.
much. See you.
Thank you, Sid. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.